Chapel Roan is another one where I'm like, she's the Victorian looking one. And if she's not doing that particular day, then I'm like, oh.
Yeah, she's going to change on you a few times, man. I'm really sorry.
I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favourite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all the guys know? Oh, forget it. Soren Bowie, Daniel O'Brien, two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.
So, hello again and welcome to another episode of Quick Question with Soren and Daniel, the podcast with long answers. I am one half of that podcast, senior writer for Last Week Tonight, with John Oliver, author of How to Fight Presidents with No One. And that's it. Daniel O'Brien, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Soren Bowie. Soren, say hello.
Hey, everybody. I'm Soren Bowie. I'm a writer for American Dad. If you're visually watching this podcast and you see me doing this every once in a while, where I'm like, turn to the side, it looks like I'm sulking. I've got a heater in here, like a little space heater in here, and I'm just like warming my tootsies by the fire.
Do you need a space heater right now? I know you're in a shack, a garage.
We are currently, the temperature outside is about 47 degrees, and in my garage, colder, I would say, because throughout the night, my garage is the desert. I don't understand. It just it holds no heat. Heat can gain no purchase here. So I have like a little space heater right next to me that I just sort of turn to every once in a while, and it's like, oh, there we go. Oh.
Yeah. I've also got a little visual game for our YouTube viewers. I'm not sure if this is actually gonna play, but I'm gonna keep my hands up and I'm gonna raise my feet up.
Yeah.
Yep, rolling down the slope, the natural slope of the floor of my house.
Oh no, you're on a grade.
I sure am. We do some
Wait,
really.
did you know that?
Yeah, do some pretty fun Matchbox car racing here.
That sucks,
folks. If you're just joining us, I'm 90 years old. Talking about
Daniel
Matchbox car racing.
That sucks bad. Go ahead.
Well, it's something where, like, as you're touring the house and seeing the house, you can definitely feel there's like a slant to the floors, and it's an old house. So the person who's giving you the tour and the people who worked on the house is like, yeah, it's an old house. They have like some kind of slant to them. It's fine. And when you're walking, you definitely perceive it, but you don't really need to adjust or do anything about it. When you decided to make the slanted room your office and your chair has wheels on it, then you're constantly aware of it. I'm always bracing myself. I can't just like take a second, step back from the computer and like, let me think how I'm going to solve this problem. Nope. There I go.
I know that it's like being in a car where you've got like pull in one direction or another. You just sort of get used to it after a while, but you can never take your hand off the wheel or your car just veers off the road.
Right. My old car was like, if I just had two hands for 1 second, then I could get changed while driving, and I could save time. Let me just like 1 second. Nope. Not happening.
The car flips over. So when we were looking at houses long ago, we were up in Topanga Canyon, and for people who don't obviously live in Los Angeles, that's just like an area of LA that it feels more wooded and it's hilly. So all the houses are built into the side of the hill, which means you don't have no yard space or anything like that. Your back, let's say you're like 2-story, your back story, the second story is like up against a hill. And these houses, for whatever reason, all of them should not have been built there and are tilting. So as you walk through these houses, it's like being in a dream where rooms just start to get smaller, or the floor feels very much like just on a kilter. And we were thinking about it. We're like, I don't think we can do this. I don't think I could. It's kind of fun for like a day to be in it, but to live my whole life here where I never feel like I've got solid purchase, like I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to live my whole life here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for you. Can't wait. Can't wait to think of all the fun things you'll do on that floor.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one of those office chairs that I can bolt to the ground, and then I'll be fine.
Is your foundation sinking? What's going on? Is it just the house is settled that way?
I think the house is just old and settled that way, and like things tilt and morph over time, and certainly down in the basement, I'm looking at joists. Joists are vertical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at joists, and some of them, these 1908 joists, just have like a very
Horizontal.
pronounced curve in the middle of them, and I'm just like, well, that's held for this long. I'm not gonna sit here and look at this house and pretend that all of my bones are in their original shape. I fucked with mine too. It's all right. We're all collapsing.
I know my L7 isn't there anymore. I'm a little shorter. It's got to be something. Yeah, I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. It is genuinely cold here. I'm in a garage and I keep telling myself, like, my treat is always going to be, hey, you're going to do this garage at some point. Like, you're going to turn this into a more livable space. It won't be like an ADU where we have plumbing or anything out here, but it will be something that I enjoy coming to, as opposed to currently what it is, the pantry from The Shining.
Right.
So I would like to be in a situation where I come in here and it's not like, oh no, it's going to be so cold in there. It's going to be like a little cave, but I just never get around to it, partially because I like looking forward to something. And if I do it, then I don't have anything to look forward to anymore.
Sure. We are weather-wise at the point, I think this comes up every year actually, where it's the middle of last 5 years where our stories intersect, and you're talking about it being 47 degrees and you put on a space heater, and I'm talking about it being 47 degrees and I'm opening windows. I'm just fucking stoked. It's starting to warm up out here. It's
two
so
shifts in the
thrilling.
night, passing each other in opposite directions. Yeah, I see that you're in a t-shirt. That pisses me off a little.
It's got collars and buttons.
No, what I mean is that you look warm and easy breezy right now. Like,
Yeah.
things are nice for you. I wore the sweater knowing full well the sweater would not be warm enough, but I was like, my jacket makes too much noise, so I'm not wearing it.
You've got for listeners and viewers who haven't seen this before, Soren has one of those jackets that alerts him when there's danger around, and it's impossible to calibrate it because, like, we're all kind of in danger all the time, and so it's giving out some kind of warning a lot, just like warning.
The problem is it's also on a national scale, so I get amber alerts on this jacket
Yeah.
constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Silver alerts now too.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, if you want to, we can jump into the show because I have a quick
Let's
question
jump
for you.
into the show. Hit me.
Okay. I want you to presume that you could meet your 17-year-old self.
Peak Daniel.
And obviously, you're going to have a lot of advice and stuff for him, but he's guaranteed the first question he's going to have for you is, what is the future like? Like, he wants to know what's interesting about the future. I want to know what's a piece of current technology that you could tell Daniel at that age that would actually sound impressive to him. And I'll go first. I mean, you know your previous self. Like, for instance, like a laptop, like a modern day laptop will not register with 17-year-old me. Like, they're like, it holds so much, there's so much RAM. He would be
Right.
like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
That's what I was thinking. It's such a hard question, but because I'm trying to be as thoughtful with it as possible, but like objectively, the piece of technology that has changed my life in the most profound ways is a smartphone. And 17-year-old Daniel, this is 2003, what is known as the certainly the first iPhone and what is accepted as the first smartphone was 2007. So it would be
predates it.
completely unfamiliar technology to 17-year-old Daniel, but I don't think it would get him pumped because 17-year-old Daniel didn't have a cell phone in his pocket and didn't want one. I didn't get a cell phone until I went to college, and my parents were like, you should have this in case you get lost and or someone dies and we need to find you. And I reluctantly accepted a cell phone. So the idea of, and I was an online person at 17 years old. I had websites that I liked and we were early adopters. So like I had middle school experiences with chat rooms, but the idea of being connected to the internet at all times and being connected to email at all times.
Well, you wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't have even known what that was.
It wouldn't have felt like a game changer to 17-year-old me if
No.
39-year-old me had come back and was like, you can get a camera and your email and access to weather.com and ESPN.com all on the little box in your pocket that gets hot all the time. I'd be like, what are you, is there anything else? I wanted flying cars. I wanted hoverboards. And you're selling me on like, I can take pictures whenever I want. A thing I don't do now. And I can get email whenever I want. A thing I don't think I want to have access to.
Yes.
Quick question for you. Do you find that you're getting takeout more than you'd like? It feels like a convenience thing. It's just, you get to that time of night where you're like, oh, darn it. I spent all my time thinking about other things today, and what I should have been thinking about is what I was going to have for dinner, and now I have no other options. My hands are tied. I gotta get takeout. Let's talk about what I ate from Factor instead, because I didn't have to think about those things. I had a beautiful poblano pepper and chicken with a cauliflowered rice. Riced cauliflower? Yeah, I think that's the way you say it. And then I just sort of lumped them all together and cut up the chicken and mixed it all up. Oh, gorgeous. It was so good. And I didn't have to think about it, and that was the best part. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, so no excuses. That's why Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. Check out today's sponsor, Factor. Head over to factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. The great thing about Factor is that it arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any busy lifestyle. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals and also get a little variation. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Or you could just go with the normal. Just say, hey, I don't eat pork, but I like everything else. Give me that. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that you can't beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
I thought about my phone as well, and I was like, and the reason why I was like that, I don't think he'd be interested in that is for the same reasons. Like, 17-year-old me has no use for those things. At my time, 17, at my time, when I was 17, phones, there were cell phones, but we weren't, I surely didn't have one. And cell phones were on a trajectory to getting smaller and smaller. Like, that was the goal.
Yes.
And so, like, if I was to tell myself, oh no, you have a phone, it's much bigger than the ones you see today, I'd be like, oh, you guys fucked up. Like, and I'd be like, well, but you can do a lot of things on it. You can, there's maps. Like, anywhere you go, you can get a map to where you want to go. And I'd be like, buddy, I know my town. I know where I'm going.
That is not one of 17-year-old Daniel's problems.
Yeah, I think I'm good on maps. The only way I could think I could even pitch a phone to myself is as a music streaming service. Like, if I could explain, it's like an iPod. Actually, iPods didn't even really exist. But like, if I could be like, it's like a mixtape. It's like our mix CD, but it's
your
every
Walkman.
song. Yeah, it's a mix CD, but it's every song in the world, even songs you hate. And I think he might be able to kind of get on board with that. But he would also be like, I'd also have to explain, you have to get a new one every 2 years. They fall apart after 2 years. And he'd be like, what? My CDs last longer than that. And you can't breathe on the bottom of them.
Right.
I think he'd be pissed about that.
When you were going over the rules of this hypothetical in advance of this episode, you said it's not a piece of technology that you would bring back and give to yourself. You would just tell yourself about it. But I think even if we weren't playing by those rules, if 2025 Daniel showed up with a smartphone and was like, you're 17 years old, this is going to give you so much information. You never have to study for anything again. I think 17-year-old Daniel would still be like, no, thank you. I don't want another like thing in my pockets.
Right.
It's, and that thing is fucking huge. I can't, it doesn't go with the chain to my wallet. This is the past, you understand?
I vividly remember as a kid having to carry keys in my pocket briefly. Like once I started to drive at 16 and I had keys and I was like, oh fuck, this fucks up everything. And like leaving my keys everywhere, because we go jump on trampolines and stuff at people's houses. You take it all out of your pockets and you jump, and then you're like, and the world stops existing behind me. And it's like you go do other things and you're like, oh no, where are my keys? Because also where I grew up, we didn't have house keys, so you just like our house was never locked. We'd go on vacation and our house wouldn't be locked. And so this was the first time I'd actually had keys in my pocket. And I was like, how do people live like this?
Just, I would come home sometimes with down a shoe. And then this future stranger is like, here, you want this phone. This phone is your whole life. It's got your wallet on it. Like, oh man, no way. Absolutely not. I'm going to drop that phone in a swamp where I'm trying to climb a tree.
I know it looks big, but it's going to be a little bigger when you have to put a little rubber protector all over it, because it's very delicate. And also, I mean, as much as you try to protect it, it's going to break. It's going to break within probably about a year and a half.
And look, I know you don't take pictures constantly, but with this phone, you have a camera that's very often you have to charge. So like, that's the other, oh yeah, I should have told you that at the beginning. The most important thing in your life once you get a smartphone is orienting everything you do around proximity to an outlet at all times. Because if you can't charge your phone, your life shuts down completely. So you have to change everything now. The idea of you like walking home from school instead of taking the bus and then just being out for an afternoon in the world, out of the question. Because you need to be able to charge your phone.
Trying to explain, like, you're at 17. Also, I couldn't keep a handle on anything. The fact that I have two devices that go together, and if one is missing, you can't use the other one, is like, I would lose that cord. I lose those cables now, and I know how important they are. As a 17-year-old me could not be trusted with a charging cable. Also, you couldn't be like, it's fine, man. Sometimes if you forget to charge it overnight, you can just do it in your car. Oh no, wait, you can't. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that.
And again, like all of the other things that are so natural as part of our lives with phones, like emails and web browsing and all of the apps that we have, is something that you'd really have to sell 2003 Daniel on. Like, even the
idea of social media.
Father worked for Amtrak for 38 and a half years, and they got beepers at one point, which was like, fuck beepers. Great. Now they can reach me. And I remember being a kid and his company, not a lot of people had cell phones, but his company was like, we are going to give you a free cell phone, TJ. How do you feel about that? You don't have to pay for it. You can even make non-work calls on it. This is for free that we're giving to you so we can reach you whenever we need you. And he said, no thanks, and just like fully never took the phone. I don't think you could get away with that today. I think like if a company was giving you a company phone, they're savvier. But this was right at a turning point where he correctly spotted this as like, oh, this is a machine so my boss can call me when I'm at home not working. No, I'm not gonna. That's a terrible way to live. No, thank you. I work when I work, and then I go home. And 2003 Daniel didn't have like job stuff, but having email constantly available to me wouldn't have been a selling point. I wasn't emailing fucking anyone.
Right.
Back then.
I don't know that I had an email address.
It's not solving a problem for me.
I didn't. And, I didn't get an email address till I was in college. I mean, email certainly existed because my dad, every once in a while, I'd like go onto forums and meet people, and then I would email with them, but I'd have to email through my dad's account. So like it was like going through a prison service where the prison was just like, well, we're going to read all these before they get to them. Dad, why is this all blacked out? Like when you printed it out for me, that's redacted. I didn't like what that person was saying. So yeah, that's obviously a hard sell. I also think my next instinct was streaming services, like the idea that you could just watch a movie or show anytime you wanted. And even then, I think that would enrage 17-year-old Soren, because I try to explain to him, oh, no, you've got to, he'd be like, well, how do you buy it? And I'd be like, oh, well, you pay like a monthly subscription, but there's a good chance the movies you want won't be on the subscription you have. So you're going to need like 6 or 7 others. And he'd be like, what? What is not? So it's not like a library. Like you just described it to me as a library. That's not true. And I'm like, no. In fact, you're going to have a lot of different services. And those movies, they're going to kind of bounce around, and occasionally they won't be available anywhere.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, all right, well, I'll just go get it on VHS. And I'll be like, oh no, we don't have those. DVDs either. Blu-rays, you don't know what that is yet. Those aren't going to be available either. And I'd be
Right.
like, how much am I paying for this? Oh man, easily over $200.
Oh, and also, you know how like that huge, like the tremendous bonding experience you have of like once a year going to your friend's house to sleep over and watch Monty Python Holy Grail over and over again? This replaces that. You don't watch things with anyone anymore.
Also, you will never watch something more than once. You might want to, but then you'll see something else immediately available that's brand new, and you will chase that shiny thing. So anyway, there's never gonna. As I was thinking about it, I was like, there's not gonna be an answer that we're gonna be happy with each other. Either I'm gonna try and convince him something's very interesting that's not, or he's gonna be impressed by something that I'm like, fucking that.
I know.
What?
It's
So
I don't want to say it, but like
I have one too that I'm embarrassed about.
it's AI for like AI is not even good. But like explaining to
into
17-year-old me what AI is like that would actually get his dick up. That's like I could just like say what I want and then it makes what I want. Like I because I was into learning Photoshop back then. So the idea of like, oh yeah, AI can help with Photoshop. You could just like describe the kind of image that you want and it will make that. And then you could tweak it from there. That would be a legitimate time saver for me at that age. And it's like humiliating that I would be sharing this technology with young me. And I'd still be like, yeah, but it sucks and we hate it. And we don't think it should exist. And it's bad because they're training the AI on our data and also copyrighted material. And 17-year-old me would be like, wait, we grew up, we give a shit about that stuff. It's like, yeah, it's mostly all we give a shit about.
It's kind of all we care about. It's our big thing, man. The idea that you could just fabricate any image you want and it looks like a real more or less like a real picture. That would be, you could make it look like a Polaroid and then it looks like a real photo. That would be hard. It would be very enticing for 17-year-old me. I thought the thing that I would be most excited about at 17 and that I could very easily explain to 17-year-old me, Waymo cars.
Hey, did you know that when your metabolism is working properly, you feel the benefits in literally every aspect of your life? You're less hungry, which is surprising. You're sleeping better. You just notice you're looking better. Your skin is better, your hair. It's strange how many things your metabolism affects. Well, I found a valuable tool that gives me insights to create a healthy metabolism for my body, and it's called Lumen. Lumen is the first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you a tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. You know, if you see on your device that you are burning mostly fats, that's not always such a good thing, folks. If you're headed into a workout, you want to have some carbs in your system. You got to learn how your body works and the best times to be both sleeping and working out and eating. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for the rest of the day on those measurements. You can also breathe into it before you have workouts and meals or before you go to bed, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And the Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel and keeps you going. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, and better sleep, which is just, even now, I just want it so bad. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health across the board. I've been using it, and I'll tell you, it'll tell you at the beginning of the day whether it thinks you should be having a light day or a carb medium day. The carb medium days, they're allowing a lot more carbs than I was anticipating. The Lumen was psyched to see me eating more carbs, and that felt pretty good. I kind of liked that. I love to have a little device telling me, hey, get another cupcake in you. Take the next step to improve your health. Go to lumen.me/QQ to get 20% off your Lumen. That is LUMEN.me/QQ for 20% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Very specifically, listeners, this is one of those times where someone lives in LA and they think the rest of the world knows what LA is like, but we don't. So, Soren, tell people what this dystopian bullshit is.
They are cars you regularly see on the road with nobody driving. They're self-driving cars that are not Teslas. And in Teslas, obviously, somebody has to be in the driver's seat. Frequently, these Waymos have no one in the car at all. It's just a car with nobody. And I would have lost my 17-year-old mind over the future if I knew that there were cars out there that were driving themselves.
Yeah. Waymos and Samos, another LA thing. A Samo is a little robot that delivers goods to your home if you order it and you don't want to pay a human for whatever reason. Yeah. That all looks and feels very futuristic, and you would explain it to 17-year-old you, and they'd be so pumped, and you'd still be like, yeah, but you don't really use it. We don't.
Yeah,
it's not good.
I don't even know how I would get no Waymo. I don't know entirely what they do. For a long time, I thought they were a mapping service. That's wrong. That's not right. I think it's a taxi service, but I wouldn't even know. You'd need that big clunky phone I told you about earlier to even use it.
Right. As 17-year-old Daniel is excited about Samo. He's like, no, I only brought up Samo as a way to get you excited about the phone and all the apps on the phone.
Apps. Yeah. Pretty much anything that you do in the future, you're gonna need an app for. It's gonna be great. It's cool. Your vacuum, it's gonna need to be through your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate everything.
You're not allowed to have a job without a smartphone. Oh, that seems like a mistake. Yeah, but probably.
It's not going to work a lot of the time, too. Those apps are going to crash a lot. You're kind of the beta tester. Technically, you work for the app company for free. As those apps come out, you're sort of the one who has to figure out whether or not it works and then tell them.
Yeah, the future is way better, although one of the apps called Slack broke down for 10 hours one day last week, and my job just stopped. And no one knew if it would start again. And no one could talk to each other because the talk to each other machine was gone.
And now that's I'm trying to explain even the speakers in my house, because I get my head around that. I'd be like, you have all these speakers that are tied to that phone, and they can play any music you want, and they will keep playing while you use that phone. And they'd be like, cool. And I'd be like, but also the speakers are no longer, the company went out of business, so they're no longer supported. And so if you have any problems with them, which you will regularly, it'll just stop. There's nothing to do. They will just stop working.
The smart speakers is a good answer for 17-year-old me. I think broadly, the same things that appeal about AI appeal with the smart speakers, because I could say, you just speak out loud the thing that you want, whether it's a news story or a specific song, any song in the history of music, or if you want to know the weather. I don't know. 17-year-old me is going to be so upset at how often
how much you love the
current me
weather.
talks about the weather. But that idea of I say a thing and then a robot gives me an answer, that would appeal. That's a good answer for this. I was trying to... Yeah. It's another...
Well, you can tangibly understand it. I watched Star Trek when I was young, so I knew that the idea that you could just say computer, and the computer could tell you anything.
Yeah.
Like that sort of smart, that's what I would assume that future computers were. So at the idea of an Alexa, I'd be like, so this is all you use now. And they'd be like, no, in fact, most people don't even have these. They don't like them.
I wonder if Amazon would have appealed to me. No, probably not.
No,
I think I could sell 17-year-old me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any money, so it didn't. So the idea that I could get anything I wanted ordered to my house, theoretically, I had that technology in 2003 as well. I just didn't have the means to make it happen. I think I could sell myself on smartphones specifically for what they can do to cars, because that was an identifiable problem for me at 17 years old. Is I have mixtapes and I have my giant CD wallet, and I didn't even have a nice enough car that it had a big deal at the time, a 5 CD changer. So for our listeners who are not old, you could put 5 CDs in your car and cycle through them. And that seemed like the most amount of music a person could ever want.
Wait, you should
I
also
didn't
tell them
have that.
most cars, it was in the trunk. So like, if
Yes.
you wanted to change any CDs in that, you had to park, get out, open your trunk, and then pop this big,
Right.
it looked like a big magazine out, and then you could change out one of the CDs from it and put it back in, and then you were allowed to drive again.
If you were lucky enough to get a 5 CD changer, I had
Yeah.
a cassette player and CD player, and I would like take a CD out while driving very unsafely, open my massive CD wallet of all the physical media of songs, take one out, put it in, hope it wasn't scratched, and listen to, you're pot committed to a full album at that point because you're not going to change it multiple times on a drive. This was the reality of driving in 2003. If I could explain to the young me, like, with your phone, you plug your phone in and you get all music, anything that you want, all the music that you have, all the music that has ever existed, until Spotify cancels a deal, and then some of that music will go away and you'll need a new thing. But for our intents and purposes, all the music in the world, it's on your phone and you could summon it onto your car and the sound quality is great. That would be appealing to 17-year-old me. All of the other stuff on the phone is superfluous bullshit, and 17-year-old me would be like, would it be possible to get a phone that's just for music and I get rid of the other stuff? And I would say, no, you have to have your email on it. I don't know why.
There was a time when you could have, but that time has passed. That ship has sailed. Yeah, I think that because it was also around the age of like LimeWire and Napster. So that was lawless and weird, where you'd like try to get a song and there was a good chance you would end up with something that was wrong. Like, you knew it said Weezer, Dope Nose, and you'd be like, yep, that's the song I'm looking for. And then it would come on and it would be Bonnie Raitt's I Can't Make You Love Me. And you'd be like, fuck, I already have this 6 times.
Right.
And so you
download you download Yeah by Usher, and unfortunately the one you downloaded is the one that starts with a radio DJ from somewhere going like, oh shit, about to play this song that everyone's calling about. It's like, if I just want the song, sir, please. This is the only way I know how that song goes now, is with you screaming before it starts.
Yeah. So like, if I was to tell myself, oh, you can just type in a song and you're guaranteed to get the right song. Like, that one's going to be the auto-populate to the top. I'd be like, word, let's do that. How long does it take to download? 45 hours? And I'd be like, no, man, you just listen to it right away. And he would be like, that's incredible. That's so great. I can't wait. And I'd be like, but here's the monkey paw curse. It's on this device that's going to control your life. And you have to have it with you at all times.
Also, and knowing where I was at in 2003, 17-year-old me would be like, you mean I can just, using my phone, listen to my favorite song, Prince Charming by International Orange? And I would say, no, that never makes the jump to streaming. It's only on the mix CD you made. Don't throw that CD out, because I'm going to miss that version.
I'm going to want to listen to that in the future. In fact, if we could just take a minute now, I know you have a lot of questions for me, but if we could just listen to that, it would mean a lot to me. It's the whole reason I came back here.
We don't have it in the future. There's probably other stuff we don't have in the future, but it's mostly this song, Prince Charming by International Orange.
We all have those songs. I was at a snowboard competition when I was young, and at the end they would do these, for all like the competitors, they do these raffles, and they'd also during that be tossing shit out to the crowd, and they tossed out this snowboard mix CD that was all local bands, and there was one song on it that I absolutely loved, and didn't ever even occur to me that like this band didn't make it big, that this band was not going to go anywhere. And so now I think back on that a lot. I know exactly how the song goes, but I will never find that song again.
Yeah. There was a band that, my band, Lunch Money Criminals. Do we have a clip?
Here it is.
Sounds great. There was a band that we used to play with called Hello Nurse, named for the Animaniacs recurring bit. And there weren't a lot of bands in the early 2000s New Jersey that we found that were like a good fit for us on a show, because there was a lot of like screamy metal, angry, a bunch of guys dressed in black with long hair being mad at women. There's a lot of that, and there wasn't a lot of like alt pop stuff, which is what we were doing, and Hello Nurse was also doing. So when we found bands like that, we just stuck together and like played shows together, because there was a lot of overlap with the crowds. I fucking love this band. They wrote great tunes. They put on such a show. We became friendly with them. And I think sometime in the last year, I went to go track them down to see like whatever happened to them. And they just don't exist. There's no record of them. I think they only had a MySpace page when having a MySpace page mattered to bands. That page is now devoted to a different band. And I can't find any of the music. And it like really dawned on me the homemade mix CD of Hello Nurse songs that they gave me in exchange for a CD of our band's music.
Yeah.
I am like the keeper of records now. I am the one. I don't know how many of these Hello Nurse CDs exist in the world. I have it. And that's why I can't throw out my giant CD wallet, because they didn't make the leap to streaming, and it falls to me to remember bands that were never big enough to succeed.
As you're saying this, I'm remembering how, like, certainly music was not as attainable, but the songs held a much bigger. They were like outsized in your brain in terms of how much they made you feel. Maybe a product of that was also that you were 17 and full of hormones and emotions.
Sure.
But you also, like, when a song came on, it felt like providence, like a song that you really loved and you were like seeking out in the world, but you didn't have the CD or whatever. And all of a sudden it would come on in a store or it would come on in your friend's car and you'd be like, oh, like you get so excited to have that song in your life again for a second. And I haven't felt that in a very long time. But that's also because I can just have any song I want at any given moment. I was thinking back to, I was into punk music when I was 17, and Slow Down, not real punk, like Blink 182 punk, no effects punk. I would dabble in something that was like a little bit harder. Like AFI was a very big punk band back then before they became an emo scream band. And that they were dangerous to us. Like we went to an AFI show and it was so scary and I loved it. But for the most part, like it was like pop punk. And there was this band at a Warped Tour that I saw called Slimer. And I was like, yeah, like you chanced upon a band that you didn't anticipate seeing and you liked them and you're like, oh, this is for me. The world has conspired to let me hear them. Couldn't find them for a while and then went to college and one of the guys from Slimer was at my college.
Wow.
And yeah, I ended up living in the same house as him my senior year. And now that guy, Daniel, he makes all of the beats for Doja Cat.
Whoa.
Dave Sprecher. Shout out to Dave Sprecher.
Shout out to Dave Sprecher. Shout out to Doja Cat.
Goes by Yeti Beats now. But yeah, like he from the jump, like he was her guy. And so he makes her music.
That's all right. I was just very quickly Googling which one is Doja Cat.
Eyebrows. The one who tries her eyebrows on and has no hair.
I don't know what I was hoping to see when I Googled that.
She has a lot of different looks. So yeah. It's even if you were to like look up Doja Cat, you're not going to probably recognize her. The most like iconic version of her, I think, is from a few years ago. She was on Dave, the show Dave.
Okay.
And that was like very clearly, oh, I know this person. Now she's got a lot of different looks. And she's killing all of them. She's great. Yeah. She's wonderful. If you don't listen to her music, Daniel, listen to the song Go Down.
Okay.
It's so good.
I get so pumped when, not that I need to know who is popular in music. It's not important to me anymore. I'm practicing selective curiosity in 2025.
Okay.
But I still get I'm very grateful when Ice Spice comes out and she has very specific Little Orphan Annie style hair as her look. She has this tight curly afro of like red orange hair, and I'm like, that's very helpful. Thank you. That's the one that you are, and I will remember you forever because you have a look, and as long as you never change it, then I can be part of the conversation.
Yeah. I messed up earlier. It's not Go Down, it's called Go to Town.
Ah, okay.
But I'm sure Gabe will change all of that and it will all be magic.
Great.
There's a yes, as long as they're wearing what they were wearing at the Grammys,
Yeah.
that I know who you are. Chapel Roan is another one where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a tough time picking her up out of lineup. I know that she's the Victorian looking one, and if she's not doing that particular day, then I'm like, oh.
Yeah, she's gonna change. She's gonna change on you a few times, man. I'm really sorry.
If she doesn't look Victorian, I don't think I can. She's not wearing a big white wig. I don't think I know who she is.
Yeah. Did we get answers for this? I think.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I think
smart speakers and
smart speakers
AI.
was yours. Waymo was mine, and I would be so mad at myself. I would be so mad that that's what he was into. But I'd be like, yeah, but you're not going to ever use it. And they'd be like, yes, but you can see those cars out on the road and no one's in them and they just drive themselves and they don't crash all the time. I'd be like, yeah, but your car basically does that, dude. The car that you have will also be, you will occasionally just turn on this special type of cruise control and your car will stay a certain distance behind the car in front of it and just drive. And he'd be like, but there's other cars with no one in them. I'd be like, yes, yeah, I guess so.
It's been a real fun experiment to think about because the things that I was immediately like, what makes my life easier? And I was like, well, it was a pretty good day when I found out my credit card has that chip in it, so I could just tap it instead of dipping it into something. Yeah. That was sincerely pretty momentous for me. And like explaining to young me signing up for Clear at the airport and how you don't have to go through the usual stuff of taking your shoes off and taking out a bunch of things from your pocket. That's all this stuff is like really handy and a time saver. And when you get older, time saving is the only thing that matters.
I have one more that I think 17-year-old me would be very impressed by, and we don't even think about it anymore. And that's LED lights. I think he would go nuts for the idea that you would have lights that change color within the bulb. Like string lights, and also just how much brighter. I mean, cars and stuff. I guess you'd need to see that. But the idea that you could have lights that can be any color you want them to be at any given moment, and it's all within one bulb, and it's a much brighter light than anything he's ever seen before.
Yeah.
I think he would be very impressed by that shiny thing.
In fact, young Soren, the lights are so bright that it's a problem when you drive at night. It makes all of us insane. More people have eye problems at younger ages than they ever have in the history of the world. And it's one of those problems that's pretty universal, but also low on the totem pole. So I don't think it's ever going to get addressed. I think it's just going to be one of those things that makes us all blind and insane.
It's going to be great. We're going to enjoy it. And I think my first instinct to even would be like, oh man, cars don't use gasoline. Well, a lot of them still do. But there's cars that don't use gasoline and that just run on a battery. And he would either say, oh, I didn't realize that they didn't already. I think that I see a battery under the hood. I thought that was just an option. Or he would be like, cool, why? And I'd have to be like, oh, things get pretty bad. The world starts to kind of fall apart, and we get pretty worried about the global warming thing that you're just sort of hearing about right now. But only about 150 of us care. And it's gonna get it. I'm on the brink of collapse right now. There's gonna be fires and earthquakes in Oklahoma where there never were before because of drilling, and there's gonna be a lot of things that are gonna be a problem. Goodbye. I think I just worry him if I told him about electric cars.
Well, that about wraps up the show, and Soren is going to take us home.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. This has been Quick Question with Soren and Daniel. You knew that.
An independent podcast.
It's an independent podcast. We're not part of a network. We're just lone wolves out there on our own together. Mm-hmm. If you liked our theme song, that's by Me Rex. You can find their music anywhere you stream music. Don't tell your 17-year-old self about it, though. You'll get confused. Don't look for them on LimeWire either. You're going to end up with some Bonnie Raitt. If you like this podcast and you want to see a video version of it, you can do that over on YouTube. You can also find that on Apple subscriptions. Hey, speaking of Apple subscriptions, you can get an Apple subscription to this podcast And that will sign you up immediately for our Patreon. You can also just do it directly through Patreon, but you're going to get extra content from us, which is these every other week we do a less buttoned up, a little bit shorter version of this show where Daniel and I are just more loose lipped.
Yeah.
Both about our careers and about just our general life stuff that's not necessarily ready for public consumption.
Yeah, a lot of our real opinions that if you want to clip it and destroy my career and relationships, you gotta at least pay $5 once.
Yeah, surely you have to go there first. We are held together entirely with editing and sound engineering and producing by Gabe Harder. And you can find Daniel and I on Bluesky doing some jokes there. Never getting political. Really,
Is the show
unless
on
it's a
Blue
good joke.
Sky? I think it is. I don't think we've done anything, but I
possible.
just started following it.
Okay, that's it. Bye.
Right.
I've got a quick question for you, alright? I wanna hear your thoughts, I wanna know what's on your mind. I've got a quick question for you, alright? The answer's not important, I'm just glad that we could talk tonight. So what's your favourite? How did you get? When will I be remembered? Was it ever? Where did all go? How do we know? Oh, forget it. Sorry, movie, Daniel O'Brien. Two best friends and comedy writers. If there's an answer, they're gonna find it. I think you'll have a great time here. I think you'll have a great time here.